Hi, I'm Steph from Patient Safety Learning, and this year we're doing a series of interviews for World Patient Safety Day. And the theme this year is on health worker safety and why it is a priority for patient safety. Today I am very happy to be joined by Nick Kelly, who is the CEO of Axela. Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Axela and what you do and what your sort of link with patient safety is?
Hi there, Steph. Thanks very much for having me. So, yes, my name is Nicholas. I'm the CEO of Axela. And what Axela is a parent group of 4 companies. So 2 care agencies that look after people in their home. We also go into care homes and assisted living facilities. We also have a training and consultancy company which basically supports individuals that are working in care and want to train up. So we do health and safety training, we do dementia training, we do first aid training and like for those. And then we've got Axela Innovations, which is our technology arm. So we're creating technology that supports healthy living, but also supports individuals to live better, safer lives in their own home.
Lovely, thank you. So in your experience, coming back to the theme of staff safety, why do you think staff safety is so important, and what do you think it looks like?
Well, I think what we've got, because of the way that we work, is we've got a bunch of staff in the office and those that go into homes. We also got a lot of staff in the community and care work. And I think the one thing we've always tried to do is make our staff feel safe, make our staff feel valued, and make them realize that they are key. And we've done everything we can over the years to put things in place. We've got on our care worker app, the app has an emergency button that pings out if they feel like they're being threatened. It has a button that they click and it can record their location and audio around them. When we do anything after sort of 9 o'clock, they go in as 2. So any care work that's delivered after 9 o'clock has to be a minimum of 2 care workers to make sure that they're both safe. In the office more recently as well, but in the office we're given, there is hand sanitizer on everyone's desk, there is cleaning products on everyone's desk, there is, we've got air conditioning, we've got light sensors, we've got a lot of things that we put in place to make sure our staff are safe, because actually at the end of the day, as good or bad your business is built on staff, and you have to make your staff feel safe. You've got to make them feel that isn't something that they need to worry about in order to deliver their job. They're here to deliver their job. They're not here to worry, is this clean? Am I going to be safe? Has someone done a risk assessment where I'm going here? Is the stairs going to fall apart? And I think people forget that the staff is the backbone of any business and is why your business is in place. So you have to put them in a safe environment. You have to make them feel that you are doing everything you can to protect their safety. And I think even when you kind of look at equipment that you use, we test all of our equipment. We test and check. We test, most people do a yearly check. We check it as much as we can. So, and we also then, as soon as we get a new bit of equipment, we might not know how to do it. So we work with medical. We work with those people that have created that piece of equipment to make sure everyone is trained, because safety isn't just about making sure you're okay. It's down to every last piece of kit that you interact with. Some offices, you get those little pack testing, which is testing the equipment. That's to check to make sure the equipment that they're putting in front of you is safe. So why wouldn't you do that for everything else and just kind of carry that mentality on to make sure your staff is safe?
It's really interesting because you talk about kind of the physical things in terms of the hand sanitization and making sure the equipment's working, and then you talk about staff feeling valued and how just the feeling of being valued and not having to worry about those things is also important. So I think you've touched on the psychological side of it as well.
So we kind of earlier on this year we went through it sounds really super cliche, but sort of between December and January, I think we even went into a bit of February. All the senior managers, and I think we had about 20 members of staff that were offered for a mental health first aid training. And off the back of that, then we created a mental health group. We worked with a mindfulness coach and a fitness coach, and we have mindfulness books in the office, because inevitably the safety, I think, again, safety isn't just the physical bit that you can touch, you have to worry about, you have to try and support the whole person. And safety isn't just about, oh, John, I'm making sure you don't trip. That's quite basic. I'm trying to support you. I'm trying to make sure that this environment is as safe as possible for you to work. And safety isn't just physical. There is that mental side of it. So is there something that everyone should be aware of that might be creating an unsafe environment for you or an unhappy environment for you? So let's all make sure we're all on the same page. Let's all make sure that we're working towards that same goal. And I think that's where we've started putting on. So is there anything else we can be doing to make sure you feel safe in your environment? And is there things that we could be doing from a training perspective? So it's not just, we've given you a nice ladder, or we're told you how to lift a box and stuff like that. But is there anything from a training perspective where you feel like we can be supporting you, but you don't feel confident and feel confident doing? So how do we support that as well? And that's kind of why we've kind of gone down that route as well. So we're trying to support not just the physical, but that whole, it sounds really super cliche, but that 360 view of that person. If you are working for us, at any point you're in that working environment, how do I support you as a whole?
And what's the feedback been like? Have you had much feedback from staff in terms of, that you talked about the apps that you're using to keep them physically safe when they're remote, and you've talked a bit about obviously the mental health support. Have you had much feedback from staff on how they feel using it?
Feedback's been really good. I think the biggest testament for us is, our turnover rate is less than 7% for staff. In an industry where you're pushing upwards of 26, 27%, we're around that 7% mark. And the reason why is because we put our staff first, and we make our staff, we put all those initiatives in place. And yes, there are costs and things to them, but the knock-on effect is I don't have to constantly keep training new staff. I don't have to worry that there's a new person coming in. I've still got the same first two staff we started with 13, 14 years ago still work for us. So I think the overall feedback's been really good, and because we build the technology ourselves and we've been building it for a while, anything that needs to be changed or adjusted, we're able to do that. So we're not having to go back to a supplier and say, oh, but this didn't work, or there were some concerns around this, or could we add this feature in, or could we do this? It's very much quickly, okay, we've got it, we scope it, we test it, we build it, we release it. But we're also testing it with those people that have asked for that thing. So it's not go off test with a bunch of developers that have never actually even delivered a bit of care or worked in the field. I can grab a care worker and say, look, you said this was a problem. Can you check and tell me if this works for you? You're in your office. Can you tell me if this video content that you said that you weren't sure if you knew how to use a piece of equipment because you didn't feel safe? Can you tell me if this was working inside that home that you were using it in? Oh, it works, great. Then let's release it.
That's amazing. So you've got quite a unique position there, haven't you, really, with the kind of creating the technology and having the users right on your doorstep who are your staff, who you're quite close to, and some have been there for 13, 14 years. They're going to be quite honest with you, I assume. Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like an environment for it sounds like quite a unique setup. Yeah,
look, I'm always gonna try and err on the side of innovation when you think about safety, but I'm not saying it has to be. Safety doesn't have to cost a huge amount of money. There are very simple things you can do that cost lots of money, that leverages technology to deliver on it, to deliver safety, that actually allows you to support the whole person and everything that person's about. So for me, it's all about using the tools that you have in front of you and to deliver the best. And it's not technology is the answer. It's not, I don't use technology for the reason. It's what's best. How do I create a safe environment? And how do I make sure that environment stays safe? But then also, how do I monitor that? How are you monitoring that safe environment and then making continuous improvements? So it's not let me put these things in place and leave it alone. It's, okay, I've put these safety measures in place. How do I make sure that those are being checked on? How am I doing regular checks on those? And then how do I deliver on those to create an improvement and deliver? So if you're putting things in and you're looking at it once a year, then so many things are going to happen. If your kind of safety plan, you wrote it in, say, February, that safety plan went out the window within 6 weeks. And if you only ever review your safety plan, and I mean like this year, if you only ever review it once a year, that whole safety plan would have changed 5 or 6 or 7 times. If you haven't got that process in place to have that continuous improvement and that continuous process, you'd have been trying to catch up with yourself. It would have been too much of a change management for everybody. So you have to look at it as a continuous part of the everyday business.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of how, because you've spoken about, you know, the need for it to be constantly looked at like that and monitored and delivered properly and implemented properly to be able to support staff. What do you think is the impact on patients? So say let's look at it in the opposite way. If a staff doesn't feel safe physically or mentally, what's the impact that you've seen on patients, or maybe not in your organisation, but what do you think that would mean for patient safety?
I think generally right now is probably the one time you can really see the cause and effect of that. Normally it's quite hard and it's quite granular, but right now if that member of staff isn't feeling safe or is making grumbles, or you can understand that they're not getting the equipment or the training they need, that is going to have a knock-on effect on how to deliver that level of care and how they interact with individuals receiving care. And that then is going to have an impact, because if someone walks in and they're not wearing the right equipment, or they don't look happy, or they're just not that what you would perceive as they should be, that's going to have a knock-on effect on your confidence on how they are to deliver their job. And I think what you don't want is, if someone is delivering health or care or whatever to you, you don't want to question, is that person feeling safe? Is that person well trained? Is that person the right person right now to deliver that? Because then it makes you then feel anxious, and that anxiety then will then feed onto them, and whatever, even if they were or weren't feeling that will then, you start creating that self-fulfilling cycle where you're anxious, which they then feed onto that, which makes them anxious, which then you feed onto that, which makes and you're just kind of in this little circle. So the best thing you can do is try and kind of nip that really, really early, is to try and support everyone as much as possible. The safety has to be, you have to also be explaining to people what you're doing to try and make that interaction safe. So it's not just a let's go off and do things, or let's put these really nice peripheral things in place and we shout about these, but it's everything we're doing. So the equipment you're using, we sanitize those. The floor you're doing, we've got, this is our cleaning schedule every day. This is during the equipment we use, this is where we get our equipment from. This is our process. If a piece of equipment falls on the floor, this is our process. We throw it away. And I heard a horror story, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about a surgeon at the top of the year that would bring his own equipment into surgery. And he wouldn't use the doctor's equipment, the hospital equipment. He'd bring his own equipment, and at the end of it, he'd clean it and reuse it. And I went, if I found out a surgeon that was cutting the open was bringing his own equipment in, I'd be shocked. And that would make me very anxious, and that would make me not want to go to hospital. That would make me not want to have whatever, even if you said that operation was like saving, the back of my mind, I'd go, but shouldn't all equipment have one use? Yeah. Shouldn't this equipment be overly sterile? I assume that even though the floor is sterile, if it falls on the floor, you've got to open a whole new set of equipment. You don't just pick it up, wipe it on the sleeve and go, no, that's good, we're good to go. Do you know what I mean? You don't have a 3-second rule when you're kind of going inside of somebody. It just sounds a little bit crazy. So it has to go through that whole process, and you have to signpost it so everyone feels safe and everyone feels aware of it. And it has to be that transparent, because the transparency is what's going to allow people to feel relaxed. The transparency is going to allow people to feel safe. The transparency is going to allow staff to continue delivering their job in the best and the most effective way.
It's interesting that you used the example about the surgeon, because we had an anonymous blog written by somebody for the hub, and it was about somebody who had been in a surgical theatre as a scrub nurse, if I remember right, and the surgeon had dropped an instrument on the floor and run it under the tap. So it may be in the same story that you're talking about, and reused it, and that member of staff had raised this as a concern and had found that her shifts had been reduced or cancelled afterwards. So I guess that sort of leads me on to the question for you guys about staff safety in speaking up, about if they have any concerns about safety or any ideas about safety, and you know, do you find staff coming forward with ideas? And
yeah, staff do, and again, I think that we're not the only ones that do this. So I'm on a lot of calls with other providers, other other companies, and they all have. And actually, I think the big thing I can probably say is we probably didn't have it right, and we probably don't have 100% right. But what we are very much to do is we're open to listening to our staff, but we're also open to learning from other companies, because that's key. No one company has it right, and I think you also have to somewhat cherry pick the best bits for you to create what is inevitably going to be your safety playbook. So for us, we do have, we've got a suggestion box in the office. We have an anonymous email account. All staff have my phone number, and actually I generally get a lot of texts from them. And it's to an extent that if you tell me something that is staying anonymous, I will investigate that. My operations director, the other members of the leadership team will investigate as much as they can and keep that person anonymous, to an extent that when we have our weekly catch up, I'm investigating this. I will follow up once I have it resolved. We don't go, oh, this person said this and the other, because inevitably you want to make sure that process stays anonymous, so no one gets picked off. But we also don't want staff to feel like they're being victimized. And we're very, very clear that if that staff does say something, that staff is then ring-fenced. So even if for whatever reason you had to drop them for that reason, you are ring-fenced. And then we need to be very, very careful, because what I don't want is to make it look like we're dropping them for that reason, because then other staff won't want to come forward. But also, if they don't come forward to us, what they might do is go to the regulator, or go to an ombudsman, or go somewhere else where we do not have the ability to investigate and fix the problem. What we're then doing is waiting 3, 4, 5 months to be told, well, this was brought to our attention and we're now investigating. And we go, well, we weren't given that opportunity to make sure and check that ourselves. So you have to create that open and safe environment. I know, using safety. You have to create that open and safe environment for your staff to feel like they can explain things to you, that they can feel that they're not going to be victimized. Because at the end of the day, we're all working towards a greater good, and it's about that greater good. It's not about, well, I don't want, and in that example, I am also aware of that example of the scrub nurse. It felt very much like they wanted to protect the surgeon and the hospital, not the scrub nurse. Now, what you've now gone is you protect that surgeon. He's going to go off and do that again. He's going to continue doing that, and now because everyone knows that they can't speak up, everyone's going to go, I'm not going to say anything because I can't lose my job. I'm not going to say anything because I might not be able to pay bills. Which means that the actual problem there is the individual that's now receiving that care isn't getting the best level of care, because actually and then also you run the risk of something going wrong, and you then having to react to it. So that person picks up an infection. God forbid they then die. You're then having to go, oh, we'll just fire the surgeon. But actually, you knew about it a year ago. You could have stopped this from happening. Yeah. That's now on you as an individual. And I know there are a lot of layers, so actually it's probably not on one individual. There's enough layers to kind of protect any one person, but that's not nice to know that at the back of your head that that family member of that the scrub nurse will never be able to say, but that family member of that person would be livid, because if they now know what hospital that was in and they had surgery, every last person that's had surgery that month, even if it was without that surgeon, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, I did get sick after. Yeah. Do you think it was because it was unsafe? Do you think it was because you don't want to think that? We already have a fear of hospitals. People have a fear of hospitals, doctors, dentists, all these places, and GPs. Why create that? Why fester that, or why kind of amplify already people's worries of those environments? The best thing you can do is create that open honesty and be safe. And actually, when things are brought to you that aren't safe, be very, very, very hard on it and show what you've done to mitigate. Look, you can't stop that gentleman that surgeon from running the equipment underneath the tab, But what you can do is put checks in place to make sure no one else does that, and that you're alerting everyone that that has happened, that's something that you're aware of, and you're willing to deal with it. But you've now hit it, and it's now come out. Now I've lost trust in you.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot about trust with staff and with patients, isn't there, in terms of safety. What advice would you give to other organisations? I know you say that you work very collaboratively. Is there anything that you've learned along the way in terms of that you would, the kind of key things that you would advise other organisations to do? You've touched a bit on transparency and monitoring. Is there any sort of things that you would say to help others?
So what we did was, was just because I think it was something we were planning to put in place, is to try and have advocates from each level kind of sitting together and create a safety. Create a safety board. It just sounds like another meeting on top of meetings, but actually create that safety board and make sure that there are actions that come out of that are actually being delivered on. So bring someone that, from our perspective, bring a care worker, bring a HCA. Bring a senior manager, bring a director. Everyone sit down and say, okay, what do we need to do? Okay, great. These are things that we know are wrong. These are things that we know are right. This is how we make that safe. Okay, we also need to put out some material. Why don't we send out a newsletter? Okay, great. Can you write the copy and we'll send it out on Friday? We need to get some new signage. Okay, let's order the signage today before we leave today. You go into that meeting, you make it tangible, and you put it into process. You don't just go in, have a conversation, have an hour meeting, and nothing happens with it. Because then actually, you're creating that what we go back to is not having that trust or that authenticity. So you have to create that. So you have to have that environment where people feel that if they speak up and things are said, they can see that being done. And the more they speak up, the more things are being delivered, the more things are being safer. So we had an incident where we were giving gloves to our staff. We were giving them vinyl gloves. And what they found is when they were putting on vinyl gloves, they'd always break. So the vinyl gloves, 2 out of every 3 vinyl gloves would break. So we said, all right, fine. So we scrapped it, and we sent out an email and said we will not be using vinyl gloves anymore. We'll only be using nitrile gloves, and that's the minimum. So we will use nitrile, and I think we use whatever puncture-resistant version of that it is. And we then sent out a notification and said, because of the problems everyone's had with vinyl gloves, we will only be using nitrile gloves. And we went out and spent, the difference in prices is huge. It's pretty much close to double the price of a vinyl glove. But we knew that there was a problem. We knew that staff didn't feel safe using vinyl gloves, and they didn't feel like the barrier that the vinyl glove created was able to allow them to feel safe delivering care. So we went out and bought the nitrile gloves. And we did the same thing with shoe covers. The shoe covers they had were standard shoe covers, and we changed those to even more safe, to ones that had grips on them. When they weren't able to get gowns, we went out and sourced those ourselves, not just, let's just find the first link. We went to, for the gloves, we even emailed the company that creates gloves in Malaysia called Top Gloves. We emailed and said, look, we've got X amount of staff, we've got X amount of people that we need. We want to buy it potentially directly from you. So it's about kind of understanding what the problem is and really delivering on that, and realizing if your staff don't feel safe and happy, they're not going to, that will start causing problems. And actually, the whole adage of, it's fine, staff do talk. And actually, when one person leaves, they will tell the rest of their colleagues why they're leaving and the reason why they're going. And then all of a sudden, all you've got is other people will start looking for that same problem for their justification for leaving. And also, what you also got is other people, the reputation that you might have built up over however long is been tarnished of a company that's not very safe. So if we kept on in that example of the gloves, if we kept on doing that, we'd have been, all of our staff would have gone, we left because they didn't care about us. And if you can go down the argument going, well, okay, the gloves aren't safe. Well, what other practices are they doing that aren't safe? Did you when you were doing night work, did you feel like you were protected? Was there a manager on call? No, there wasn't. Okay, then you start delving into all these things, and that then becomes a conversation that you're not privy to, and all you're now doing is trying to react. And I feel like if you have to be defensive without evidence to back it up, there is an element, you always look a little bit guilty. You should try and be proactive as you can and say, okay, you said that that we gave you the wrong gloves, but we sent an email notification out to everybody to change the ones to new ones, to come into the office and get new ones. We put signposting around the office to say this is what we're doing from a COVID perspective. We started saying to everyone that comes into the office, we created a hand washing station in the office. We've got hand sanitizer in the office. We've got, when people sign in, they sign in via a computer screen. They can just tap their phone so they can sign into the office that way. So you're creating all these things and you're signposting them. People then feel reassured. People feel safe, and it's about meeting the kind of realistically saying, what can I learn, and then how do I put it into practice? And another company in my same industry might not have it right. Is there other industries that are doing it better as well? So yes, we're in healthcare, but is there a company that is in, I don't know, pharmaceuticals? Is there a company in logistics? Is there, is even a supermarket got it better than us? What are other people doing? What can we learn from everyone else to create the best environment? Because then also all that's going to happen is someone's going to go, oh, actually, what other industries are doing it great? Oh, they're doing it great. What can we learn from them? And it then creates this really nice learning loop. But you have to kind of realize that you might not have it right. So
Yeah.
you have to learn from others that are potentially doing it. They're probably not even doing it correct, but they're probably doing it better than you. So learn what they're doing, improve on it. The next person will learn what you're doing, improve on it. And all you're doing is we're laddering up each time we learn.
And would you give staff any advice of how to keep themselves safe, or how they can contribute to keeping everyone safe in a health and social care environment?
I think staff, what I definitely try and say to everyone is, have a conversation between yourselves. Don't make the assumption that we are just going to, don't be lemmings in it. So if you see something that you think is being done unsafely, or you think something can be done better, speak up, raise your hand and do it. But put it into practice. So if you feel like a surface hasn't been cleaned, don't wait for somebody else to do it. And I appreciate in a hospital setting, you might have professional cleaners, but if that cleaning regime is done every 2 hours and it's dirty now, there are enough cleaning products for you to just grab it, clean it, and then write a note and say, I cleaned this by hand, X, Y, Z. Own up to that so everyone's aware of it. I think staff should really feel that they are able to have that conversation and they don't feel like they're unsafe. But if you do feel unsafe, speak up, because you need to feel safe in your work environment, because actually in most cases you probably spend more waking hours in work than you do at home. So actually that is your space. That should be a really comfortable space for you. So you should make sure that space feels welcoming and you don't dread going in because it's not welcoming for you.
Absolutely. And in terms of charities like us, Patient Safety Learning, we've been trying to support staff in raising awareness of some of the issues around psychological safety and around physical safety as well, and helping to understand how system-wide problems are as well, and in terms of addressing issues, patient safety issues and staff safety issues. What more do you think a charity like us could be doing?
Is really, really good. You probably wouldn't be able to, but I think what we normally talk about is one side of the story. So I think when we had at the beginning of the kind of as a side step to answer the question, at the beginning of COVID, all we were talking about was the bad side of COVID. These many people are dying. These are the problems. What we forgot was there are a whole lot of people, doctors, nurses, police, ambulance, care workers, even people that work in supermarkets, logistics people, that were still having to go out. So if I'm waking up in the morning and being told there are 1,000 people dead, stay at home, stay safe, whatever that last one was in that slogan, stay home, stay safe, whatever it was. Anyway, stay home, stay safe. We should know that, right?
That messaging didn't get through well enough to us, did it? But we did it.
Yeah.
Possible.
So if that was a messaging you were being given, and then you were then going to work, you automatically didn't feel safe, because no matter how, because inevitably you're being told that the safest thing for you to do is to stay home. Well, then why am I going out? If that's the safest thing for us all to do, why am I doing this? So I think we tend to say one side of the story and forget that you have to say both sides. Yes, it might not be the best way to do it, But if right now you're saying, okay, all these companies have been really, really good, really, really safe, there's going to be someone that reads it and goes, well, my company isn't safe. Well, this doesn't reflect my company. And they're going to then completely ignore the rest of it, because they're not going to want to see that everyone's doing it great, because they're going to go, well, my environment isn't that. Also, my environment doesn't allow me to change. So I think you need to show that story around, we talked about a little while back about the scrub nurse that didn't feel safe. Stories like that have to be also be written and shown on par with stories of, okay, do you know what I've done? I've done an app for all my staff that they hit a button and it alerts everyone. I've made sure that there's a forum. I put signage in the office. There is, there's hand sanitizer, there's bleach on everyone's desk. You have to put those two stories together, because then I will go, okay, we're doing things wrong. These guys are doing things right. I want to have a conversation about how we can do things better.
Yeah.
Not, oh, let's all tell the good stories, because then you start getting people switching off, because it's the same added advantage. If all you're telling is bad stories, you're just going to get trolled by people going, well, you're taking a very skewed view of this. So I think from your perspective, showing that kind of that dual side, I think reaching out to the wider environment. So it's not just health and social care. Could you reach out to other industries that potentially feed in or work within? Because actually their knowledge, their understanding, the way that they're looking at safety is also pretty key and pretty poignant as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be done quite differently in healthcare a lot of the time. And there is some learning going on from industries like aviation in terms of safety and the differences. So it would help if that just got broader and broader, I suppose, and that we realised that we could learn from those sorts of systems.